You got to change how you see yourself. You got to quit seeing yourself as a failure. You got to quit seeing yourself as defeated. You got to stop seeing yourself in a negative view. Why? Because your perception has to do with the way you think.
To everything, there is a season. This is one of the best news I ever got in my life. When I understood that everything is a season. Let me tell you why. If you're having a bad time right now, it cannot last. If your business is going in the wrong direction, it's a seasonal slide. If you have no money right now, the good news is I am seasonally broke. That's why we are always reminded, never make a permanent decision in a temporary problem.
You can't change the seasons. They're set. All of this has been set in motion. You can change yourself. You can't change the seasons, but you can change yourself. Life and business is like the changing seasons.
One of the things that we know about life is that you're always going to be changing. In the old pattern and the old chapter, you had certain patterns, right? In the old chapter of your life, you would go to the bar and drink. You would go to the store and spend money you didn't have. You're in a new chapter now. And so you have different patterns. When the patterns change, so will your circle of friends. It's a fact of life. But that doesn't mean your old friends aren't friends anymore. It just means that you don't want to hang out with them. You still care about them, but you don't like doing what they do. The patterns have changed.
Don't let anybody lock you up with a title in a prison that is beneath your level of gifting. You are whatever you think about at night. You are whatever you dream. You are whatever is in your head. I want to break somebody out of jail right now. You are more than what people call you.
Don't neglect a new life if you've started a new life. Learn the good evil. Summertime. Here's what you must not become: a victim of yourself. What is that insidious voice inside your own head that says you're too short, it'll never work for you, you're too tall? And here's what you've got to do: cooperate with the positive side of your life and let faith drive out doubt. Let winning drive out losing. Let positive drive out negative.
The hardest thing to do, the hardest thing to deal with, the hardest thing to put up with is transition. The thing we hate the most is transition. We hate it because it takes us out of our element. It takes us out of our comfort zone. You cannot control everything when you are in transition. It is what it is. It happens like it happens. I can't be pretty about it. I got to come out any way I can. I'm in transition. When my water breaks, get ready. Here I come. That's my sign. Here I come. Touch your neighbor and say, move.
Anybody can criticize. Anybody can talk scandalously about you because of what you did or did not do. But they don't know your story. They don't know how many storms God has brought you through.
You are more than the job title that you have. You are more than the company you work for. You are more than anything you have experienced up to this point. You are everything that gives you energy when you think about it. Find out what are the things that make you leap out of the bed in the morning. What are the things that give you energy when you think about them? Your purpose is in your passion.
I've learned how to ignore some foolishness. Come on, if you try to respond to everything that everybody got to say and accuse and every opinion that people got, that's all you would spend your time doing. But I've discovered that God has anointed you to do his will, and you do not have to waste your time responding to foolishness.
Find the thing that gives you energy when you do it. That ideas start teaming over in your head when you get in it. Find the thing that when you get into it, you're curious about it. You're attracted to it. You're drawn to it. Because whatever the anointing you respect is the anointing you receive.
learn how to survive the winter. Speaking of life in its simplest aspect, the first key to learn in your life on the spinning planet is to learn how to survive. So we cannot rearrange the coming of the winters, but here's what we could do: get stronger, wiser, and better so that we can survive better, learning to handle the next winter of a divorce, the next winter of an illness, the next winter of a death in the family, the next winter of a loss financially, to be better equipped.
You got friends for a reason, you got friends for a season, and you have friends for a lifetime. As the patterns of my life change, so do the friends that I hang out with more frequently. And I also believe that as you change and the patterns in your life change, people show up in your life for a reason. And it's exactly the kind of people that you need. They're there for a reason. And the friends of yours that are friends of yours for a lifetime, I bet you don't hang out with them that much at all anyway. But I bet they're the first person that you call when you need to talk to somebody about somebody important. And those folks that are still sitting at the bar and love to blow money that they don't have, those were friends for a season.
Get rid of all things, people, and situations that no longer belong in your life. That means you are going to boldly step into and walk into the unfamiliar. Boldly get rid of things, people, relationships, friendships, surroundings. Deciding that you love yourself enough to no longer walk in the direction of pain, drama, or dysfunction.
The collection of ideas that turned your life around, the collection of ideas that caused you to learn extra skills. You got to have a good plan. You got to have a good health plan. You know, you can't be out of breath, right? You got to have the breath. You got to have the vitality. So you got to have a good health plan. You got to have a good financial plan. Learning to handle the passing of time. And that's what life is all about. Taking them on, finding solutions, executing, recording progress.
And however you see yourself is going to impact or determine your thinking. Your perception has to do with the way you process information. I mean, if you're stuck in inferior and you're stuck in all these things, it will determine the way you process information. It's going to affect the way you view situations around you in your life.
You are in your new season. Some of y'all came up with New Year's resolutions. You've already fell apart. You're supposed to step into the happy new you year. So many of y'all are in spiritual chains. You're not even physically behind bars. You are spiritually behind bars. You are stuck. You are institutionalized.
The higher we went up, the smaller the circle got. If you really think you're going higher, you got to notice that the higher you go, the smaller your circle. You can't go high and go wide at the same time. If you don't do that right and do it the other way, you're going to keep falling over, so there may have to be some cutting back.
Here's what everybody has the opportunity to climb the ladder. Now, first, all you need is what? A chance. But here's the greatest advantage: having the right philosophy. A change and a shift in philosophy here starts to change everything. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. If you work hard on your job, you can make a living, which is noble. If you work hard on yourself, you could make a fortune, which is exciting.
If you have friends that make you wrong for changing your life for the better, that's their issue. It's not yours.
I want you to be transformed out of the world. Transformed or changed from how you used to think, how you used to act. I want you to change yourself from the world to the Word. I want you to change yourself from those ideas that you got in the world and be ye transformed. How? By the renewing of your mind.
If you're not prepared to go through some bloody stuff and some dirty stuff, you don't want to keep feeding on this kind of word, because it will open up your mind and open up your thinking and open up your concepts until all of a sudden you are uncomfortable in what you were once comfortable in.
We were born to do a special work. You were born to do a special work. You are here for a reason, to do the greater work. Not just work for a living, but to make a difference with your life.
You're thinking on another level, and it's causing a separation. What used to be funny isn't funny anymore. And what you used to be satisfied with, you're not satisfied with anymore. And all of a sudden, you don't fit in the places you used to fit in. And they think you're acting strange. And they say things like, you forgot where you came from. I didn't forget it. I just can't stay in it.
So we've been talking about the power to change yourself. And ladies and gentlemen, you all have the power to change your life. Right now, you have the power to change. Say this out loud. I have the power to change my life now.
Every time I climb up a little bit, I start this pattern where I sabotage, or I start to believe too much, or my relationships go sideways. You're falling into these patterns. There's massive power in beginning to understand that's not who you are. You are not your possessions. You are not your accomplishments. You are not what other people say you are. You are not what you look like. And guess what else you're not? You are not your patterns, but your life becomes a combination and a result of your pattern. The great thing about us is that we can change these patterns if we identify them.
You got to weep with those that weep and laugh with those that laugh. You got to have this full understanding of the game. You got to understand the highs and the lows, the tragedy and the triumph. Just like in your mind, you got to stand guard at the door of your mind. Don't become a victim of yourself. Beware of the thief in your mind that's after your promise, and see if you can't engage in this mental contest and win the day. Success is something you attract by the person you become. Success is not something you pursue, chase, run after. Success is something you develop, something you become. You attract success. So the whole key to unlock all the treasures is by your own personal development. What you become is much more valuable than what you get. The major question to ask on the job is not what am I getting here? The major question to ask on the job is what am I becoming here?
Everybody wears this public mask, or this social mask I call it, where it's who they want everybody to think they are. It's the best put version of themselves. And if you're not careful, you begin to compare your own real identity with other people's public mask. Don't compare yourself. Most of the people you see on social media, or even in your personal life, or even when you go to lunch with them or see them at work, they're wearing what I would call a public mask. And oftentimes what we do in life is we compare our real identity that we're working on and we're growing to their mask. Any comparison doesn't serve us. When you're in a disagreement with somebody, it's the mask they're wearing compared to the identity you have, and then you begin to run a pattern to respond to it.
The life is about growth. You can either go back to your comfort zone, and there you won't find any growth, or you must be willing to go forward and face your fears again and again and again, because you're never going to have a fear-free existence. I mean, some fear is acceptable and legitimate. Being stopped by fear is the difference between having a fear and the fear having you.
Live your life being present to who you are and what your superpower is. Don't be a volunteer victim. You've got something. You came here with something. You were chosen.
If your life and the people that you have in your life creates nightmares for your life, the nightmares that you're having while you're awake, you're witnessing nightmares. Drama, dysfunction, negative people, you consuming your life. It's like, oh, there's negative dysfunction and drama, and you're going to walk into the direction of dysfunction and drama. And you go to sleep at night, those nightmares are going to continue till you sleep because of what you're deciding to do while you're awake.
How long is the night? It's only a few hours. Come on. There's never been a double night. So learn to think day when it's night. And then you must learn to think night when it's day. So you must think negative when it's positive. You must think winter when it's summer. You must not be faked out when it's nice. You must think storm in the summer and not get faked out. Work while it's day. Work while it's day, because the night's coming.
So I'd ask yourself today, what are the patterns you're running that don't serve you? Begin to be aware of those patterns. Know who your real identity is. See those patterns when they're happening. Interrupt them. Continue to work on your identity. These two things, I think, are the critical components to making the decisions and the choices in our life. That when we look back, I don't want you to end up in your 80s or 90s and regret the choices you made. Regret the patterns you ran. And that you just unconsciously went through your life without choosing the direction of it, choosing the decisions.
There comes a point in your life when you look in the mirror and who's looking back at you realizes that's all you're ever going to be. Wow, what a blow, what a punch in the gut. And I kept seeking, I kept working at it because the one that I was living wasn't me, and he had to go. You want to be successful? Watch successful people and do what successful people do. And so I'm saying to you, you have something special. You have greatness in you. I want you to write this down. Do what works.
It will be hard because life is hard. That's what life is. These challenges that you face, they're going to do their best to take you down. Do not let them bring you down. In fact, let those challenges raise you up. Let them elevate you. Let the adversity you face today turn you into a better person tomorrow.
It's guaranteed the spring will come, but it's not a guarantee of a harvest. Here's the key. You must do something with the spring. Take advantage of the spring. It's an opportunity now to turn things around. It's an opportunity to have a better one than the last one. Now, here's what you must do in the spring. It's a very short season usually. You must hurry. But life at the longest is short. So you must learn to appreciate opportunity and take advantage of it while it's day, while it's time. Now, we call spring a window of opportunity. It may not stay open very long, so take advantage.
You came here to make a difference. You came here to live an impactful life.
Even though you're going through the storm, you're not able to soar as high as you once did, God still gives you grace to run. It gets hard sometimes. You keep running. They talk bad about you out of your presence, but keep running. They don't want to see you get a breakthrough, but keep running. Run, don't get weary. Run, don't let them discourage you. Don't let the chickens and geese in your life change your eagle mentality.
The other thing that you have to learn is when you hold on to your history, you do it at the expense of your destiny. When you consider you cannot give energy, but in so many directions, that you are a limited resource. And if you're going to spend all that energy energizing where you've been, then you're not going to have the fuel and the fire and the tenacity and the aggressiveness that you need to energize where you're going. Women are taught to think that it is powerful to hold people hostage with what they did wrong, that that's your power, that's how you get back. No, I didn't forget it, and I'm strong and I'm tough. But it takes more strength to forgive than it does to be vengeful and angry. And the worst part about it is, I really believe that forgiveness does not exonerate the perpetrator. It does not justify their behavior. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself because you let it go so that you are available to be your highest and best self, and because you are saying that it is not stronger than me. I disconnect from it as a sign that I am in control of it, and it is not in control of me. It has been my philosophy. If I had held on to all the things that happened to me in my childhood and in my life, I wouldn't be standing here today. I had to realize that when you rehearse those visions and images, you empower them. You actually enshrine them. I decided to cast down the idols of my history and to embrace the possibilities of my destiny, so that I was available when God's roll call was made. Are you present and available for what I want to do in your life right now? My hands are free. Here I am. Pick me. I'm ready to go.
Forgiveness is giving up the hope that the past could be any different. I think for myself, and I know many of you, you think forgiving means accepting what has happened to you. Well, it is accepting that it has happened to you. Not accepting that it was okay for it to happen. It is accepting that it has happened, and now what do I do about it? Forgiving is giving up the hope, not holding on, hoping, wishing that it could have been any other way than it actually was. Giving up the hope that the past could be any different. And when I got that, I think it took me to the next level of being a better person, because I don't hold grudges for anything or any situation, and neither should you. It's letting go so that the past does not hold you prisoner, does not hold you hostage. This truth has been fundamental in allowing me to live my best life. It was transformative. You have to come to the realization that what might have been is not what is. Easy to hear, I know, and harder to do. You can accept or reject the way you are treated by other people, but until you heal the wounds of your past, you will continue to bleed. You can bandage the bleeding with food, with alcohol, with drugs, with work, with cigarettes, with sex, she said, but eventually it's gonna ooze through and stain your life. You must find the strength to open up the wounds, stick your hands inside, pull out the core of the pain that is holding you in your past, the memories, and make peace with them. So here's the formula. Accept what has happened. Forgive others. Forgive yourself. Accept the now. That is the recipe to begin healing. And give up the hope that the past could have been anything other than what it actually was. Whatever happened, help to make you, you. I challenge you to think about and to ask yourself, where do you need forgiveness in your own life? What resentment are you holding on to that in turn is holding you back? My hope is that you find the courage to relinquish all your grudges, because what I do know for sure is that on the other side of forgiveness is the freedom to live the life for which you were intended and the one you actually deserve.
Forgiveness of yourself and of others will release you from the prison of the past. Thoughts of bitterness cannot create joy. No matter how justified you feel you are, no matter what they did, if you insist on holding on to the past, then you will never be free. Forgiveness is a tricky and confusing concept for many people. There is a difference between forgiveness and acceptance. Forgiving someone does not mean that you condone their behavior. It really has nothing to do with the other person. The reality of true forgiveness lies in setting ourselves free from holding on to the pain. When you do not flow freely with life in the present moment, it usually means you are holding on to a past moment. only in the present moment can you create your future. If you are holding on to the past, you cannot be in the present. It is only in this now moment that your thoughts and words are powerful. So you really don't want to waste your current thoughts to continue to create your future from the garbage of the past. When you blame another, you give your own power away because you are placing the responsibility for your feelings on someone else. People in our lives may behave in ways that trigger uncomfortable responses in us. However, they did not get into our minds and create the buttons that have been pushed. Taking responsibility for our own feelings and reactions is mastering our ability to respond. In other words, we learn to consciously choose rather than simply react.
The person you were in the past is a different person than you are today. The person you are today wouldn't do those things because you now have wisdom, you have hindsight, you have intelligence, you understand consequences. So the person you are today is a different person from the person you were back then. So don't keep beating yourself up because that other person, another person, did something that today you disapprove of. All right? Just let yourself go. Let yourself off the hook. And when you let it all go, it's almost like a huge burden off your back. You just forgive everybody and you forgive everything, and on a go-forward basis, you just forgive everybody. You don't have any negativities at all. No negativity toward anybody. You're just a positive person. And if you'll do that, if you accept responsibility, like yourself, and forgive everyone else, you become a truly superior person. Most amazing darn thing.
When you start anything, the first step, you're excited. And then you take another step and another step. The enthusiasm from the beginning starts to fade out.
Your future is in your hands. You know what that means? You got to work on your mind. Fortify yourself. You got to upgrade, level up your skill set. You want to be in a community of collaborative, supportive relationships that's going in your direction. And anybody that don't have the mindset that you have, let them go.
You lost sight of the long-term goal, and it faded. It faded from memory, and the passion dried up, so we stopped the daily tasks that will allow us to achieve our goals. And you began to rationalize. Maybe I can't. Maybe I don't really want to. Maybe this goal isn't for me. And so you give up. You let it go. No. Don't do that.
If you understand completely what I'm going to tell you from this moment on, your life will never be the same again. The things you want just seem to fall in line. And from now on, you won't have the problems, the worries, the gnawing lump of anxiety that perhaps you've experienced before. They'll be things of the past. Here's the key to success. We become what we think about.
When you go to sleep at night, how are you going to feel about your day? All depends on who you decide to include in your day. You got 24 hours in a day. Stop running around acting as if you don't have a choice. You do have a choice.
Don't let neglect destroy your days, destroy your life, and destroy your future. Go back and do what you can. And if you'll do what you can, then life will give you some extraordinary things to do. You got to take care of the small disciplines before life will give you a chance to handle the more complicated disciplines.
You've got to control the beginning and the end of your day with your thinking. And so one of the first things you need to do when you wake up is to take a 5-minute window and you visually see your goals and dreams. Picture them as videos in your mind. Picture them as you possessing them and see them written down on a sheet of paper. This will begin to control your mind for the day.
I want that long-term goal to be so embedded in my mind that I never lose sight of it. Ever. then the little tasks and projects and short-term goals that you tackle need to lead towards strategic victory, winning the long war.
Start working a plan to get there and minimizing everything else. Getting very clear on the mission, and working the plan. Everything else, guess what it gets? A no. When you do things, do them intentional. Do the things that are going to move you forward.
Every day, do something that moves you toward that goal, that keeps that goal alive and in sight and in focus. However small or insignificant that step might seem, take it, do it, make it happen, because that goal isn't going to achieve itself.
Waking up early, working out every day, if you start with those two kind of cornerstones, and then the other thing is, figure out what you're going to do during the day. Don't go to bed without a plan of how you're going to handle the next day.
To go forward or to go back. You're going to always have that decision. I made all of my dreams bigger than my fears. So when I felt like quitting, the results would have been devastating to the goal I was trying to attain. My motivation was, I was just exhausted from poverty.
See, whatever you're worried about, if someone called you right now and say, listen, you got 2 days to live, I'm telling you, you won't be worried about your bills, ladies and gentlemen. Look at your life right now. If you want to keep on getting what you're getting, keep on doing what you're doing. You've got to be willing to change your ways.
You do have a choice. You love rumors, you love issues, you love problems, you love people calling you with their problems. You love it. That's why at the end of every night you are drained, because you are submerged yourself in dysfunctional things, people, and situations.
I have a schedule and I execute the schedule. Parts of my day are very structured. Parts of my day are very disciplined, which gives me freedom in other parts of the day.
I was sick of living in my car. I've been living in my car for 3 years. I was sick of not having money. And so for me to quit, and see, that's what people do. People quit when it's at their hardest moment. But if it's at your hardest moment, why would you quit? I mean, think about it. If you're going through hell, why stop there? Move, keep going.
Your life is working. If you don't like what you have produced, you're a director, you are the star, you wrote this script. If you want to begin to make your stuff happen for you, I think that it's very important that you start trusting yourself. Listen to yourself. Don't try and make everything logical. There are some things about life that defies logic, that you just can't explain how the outcome is going to be.
And then at the very end of the day, what I do, one of the last things I do after my prayer is I read through my goals and my dreams. I picture them. When I get my sleep, it's going to work on revealing to me. It's playing back the video, believe it or not, of my day in my mind, and it helps me wake up ready to get them as well.
They have the magic touch. You've heard them say that about someone. Everything he touches turns to gold. And have you ever noticed that a man who becomes successful tends to continue to become successful? It's because of goals. Some of us have them, some don't. People with goals succeed because they know where they're going.
And you are here this week to learn vital information about creating a future and be defined by a vision of the future instead of the memories of the past.
Why? We conform. And the trouble is that we're acting like the wrong percentage group, the 95% who don't succeed. These people believe that their lives are shaped by circumstances, by things that happen to them, by exterior forces. They're outer-directed people.
A habit is something you do without giving it any conscious thought. And you know that most people live by habit. They don't think. The late and great Dr. McFarland from down in Kentucky said 2% of the people think, 3% of the people think they think, and he said 95% of the people would rather die than think.
The wonderful thing is this: if you do what other successful people do, you eventually get the same result that they do. Most people are broke up until their 40s and 50s. So if you're broke today, you're just one of the gang. The only question is, do you stay there? And the answer is no.
If you are not defined by some vision that is bigger than you, and you are not passionate about that vision, then you're left with the old hardware of the past in your brain, and you will be predictable in your life.
Now, when I started off in this many years ago, I came from very poor beginnings. I dropped out of high school. I could only get laboring jobs. I was told, by the way, if you don't get a good education, you won't do well in life. And I believed that for a long time until I found there's hundreds of thousands, millions of people who dropped out of high school who went on to become millionaires and billionaires as well.
A survey was made one time that covered a lot of men, working men, and these men were asked this question: why do you get up in the morning? 19 out of 20 had no idea. If you ask them, they'll say, everyone goes to work in the morning, and that's the reason they do it.
Learning is the beginning of life change. Some people want to start with motivation, but you don't start with motivation. You can tell we don't spend that much time on motivation. And we're here, enough motivation, certainly. But here's the best motivation we've got going. When we bring our dedication and let it show, we let the work of our hands show, that's the motivation we want.
You've got to learn how to walk by faith and not by sight. That once you begin to trust yourself, life takes on a whole new meaning, because now I want you to do that feeling that you are led.
When we think a new thought, literally opens a space up in our minds, in our lives, that never existed before prior to having that thought. And what happens is your unconscious and subconscious mind goes to work on filling in that space with the people, places, resources, and things to fill up that space and fully furnish it. That's the power of how we think.
You are thinking in the past. And so most people then spend the majority of their life talking about why they never arrive at their vision of the future because of some past experience.
You can exercise them, and you can literally create the start of anything because you are creative. The only thing about a man that is a man is his mind. Everything else you can find in a pig or a horse.
At some point, we all bought into this lie that you gotta feel ready in order to change. At some point, you're gonna have the courage. At some point, you're gonna have the confidence. And it's complete garbage. And so there are so many people in the world, and you know, you may be watching this right now, and you have these incredible ideas, and what you think is missing is motivation. And that's not true.
We say that success is not an accident. Failure is not an accident. So if you just follow the tracks of other successful people, no matter where you're starting from, you eventually get to the same place that they get. The two most important things we need to have to be happy and healthy is a sense of control, things are happening for a reason, and a sense of coherence, a feeling that things fit together.
Just get stronger, get better. We've all got those personal winters. I'm asking all of you to get better in spite of the winters, in spite of the downturn, the money downturn, the social downturn, the personal downturn, whatever it is. The key is not to wish for a better winter. The key is to wish for more strength, more wisdom, more courage, get better, get wiser, get stronger.
Some of you are having problems with battles of things you're trying to change and you can't change them. Old habits that you were keeping for the last 20 years and now you want to change and it's tough to change. If you keep watching pornography, you keep reading dirty books, now the first time you see it, it doesn't bother you. But if you keep seeing it, it becomes downloaded.
When an idea comes into your mind, you want to ask yourself this question. Don't ask whether it's wrong or whether it's right. That's not the question. You know what the question is? Will that idea take me from where I am and move me in the direction of the star that I'm shooting at?
You're never going to feel like it. Motivation's garbage. You only feel motivated to do the things that are easy. Why is it so hard to do the little things that would improve my life? And what I've come to realize, the way that our minds are designed is our minds are designed to stop you at all costs from doing anything that might hurt you.
But now let's make these notes now on setting goals. The promise of the future is an awesome force. We look back for experience, but we have to look forward now for inspiration. And what gives us inspiration to get up in the morning and do our job, learn skills, develop all that we can possibly be, is the promise of the future. And it can be so powerful that it can overwhelm any adversary you might have, any difficulties you might have. Here's a key phrase: reasons make the difference in how your life works out. Reasons make the difference in your appetite and zest for taking on the challenge, doing the job, becoming successful. Mr. Shoaff said, if you have enough reasons, you can do the most incredible things. You can get through the most difficult day. You can overcome the most unbelievable challenges if you have enough reasons. And so he said to me, if you haven't got a list of your goals, Mr. Rohn, it's probably because you don't have enough reasons. He said, I'm sure since I've met you, you have enough intelligence. And he said, you have enough good health. And he said, you have, all of those things working for you. But here's what you must work on now is to have enough reasons. Looking into the future, developing reasons. Okay. Now here's a note to make. It's important to make sure that the greatest pull on your life is the pull of the future. Some people let the past pull them back. The past can be like gravity if you let it to pull you back. Some people live in the past. They live in the darkness of the past. They live in the mistakes of the past. They live in the discouragement of the past. They didn't make it, and that affects them for the rest of their life, living in the past. So we don't want the past to pull us back, to live in the past. So make this note: dreams and goals can become magnets. Dreams and goals can become magnets. And the stronger the goal, the higher the purpose, the more powerful the objective, the stronger this magnet is that pulls you that direction. Now, not only does your goals and your objectives pull you that direction, here's what they also do. They pull you through. They pull you through all kinds of down days. They pull you through a difficult time. It'll pull you through some winter of your life. Some people get lost in the confusion of the day simply because their goal is not bright enough to pull them through. Next, it's goals that drive us to take advantage of the spring. Why would the farmer put the plow in the ground in the spring if he couldn't see the vision of the harvest when the summer is finished? Is it possible to see the finished harvest? And the answer is yes. We do that simply by faith. Key phrase: faith is the ability to see things that don't yet exist. So here's what we want to do in our goal setting session, is to start looking into the future of what you would like to accomplish, and where you would like to go, the person you would like to be, and see if you can't get a better picture of the finished objective. See yourself there, see yourself in possession of. For your dreams to greatly influence you, or the future to pull you, your future must be well planned. There are two ways to face the future. One is with apprehension, the other with anticipation. Guess how many people face the future with apprehension? Why? They don't have it well designed. And without really thinking about it, they have probably bought someone else's view of how to live. You will face the future with anticipation When you have planned a future you can get excited about. When you have designed your future results in advance. In this way, the future will capture your imagination. It will exert an enormous influence on you. And to design your future, you must have goals. Well-defined goals are like a magnet. They pull you in their direction. And the better you have defined them, the better you have described them, the harder you work on them, the stronger they pull. And they pull you through all kinds of difficulties too. Without goals, it is easy to let life deteriorate to the point where you're just making a living. It is not difficult to get trapped by economic necessity and settle for existence rather than substance. We all have a choice. We can either make a living or design a life. Now we're going to take some time to actually start designing the next 10 years of your life. We're going to start setting your goals. Goal setting is one of the most important skills to develop if you want to design your future. I'm going to give you enough homework not only to keep you busy for the rest of your life, but also to help you create the kind of life you may have always dreamed about living, but never believed possible. So let's get on with it. The sooner you exert the discipline, the sooner you will be enjoying the results. Once the results start to come, believe me, you won't mind the hard work and discipline it's going to take.
Credit goes to our awesome patrons who make videos like this one possible. Consider joining them to support our work. You can also support us by subscribing to our channel and clicking the bell button to get notified when our new videos are released. And as always, thank you for watching.